I was talking to a friend of mine the other day who bought a Sonex kit. He got part of the way through it and decided, by the time I'm done building this thing, I'm going to have built it about 3 or 4 times. By the time you're done drilling, up drilling, deburring, reassembling, and finally riveting parts, you've probably already built the aircraft 3 or 4 times. So I'm going to spare you some of that today. I'm going to go ahead and deburr the portions of my wing that need to be done, which I'm not going to do on camera. Then I'll put it all together and you can kind of see how the final assembly goes when I'm ready to start riveting. So hopefully you enjoy this portion. Alright, so I've gone a little bit off of what the instructions say. They said to drill this hole out to 23-30 seconds, which is just the size of the washers that go in here. And what the instructions said was to stack 2 of them underneath this eye bolt, and then 1 on the angle underneath, and then put the nut on underneath all of it and clamp it together. And what that does is it bumps this up about 1/8 of an inch. I didn't like how that was sticking out into the slipstream, and so what I actually did was I cut the hole rather than 23-30 seconds like it said in the instructions. I actually bumped that up to just a little bit under 3/4 of an inch. So the eye bolt fits down flush, and there's a lot less of it sticking out into the slipstream this way. It still requires 3 washers to go in here like the instructions say, and so what I did is I actually put the eye bolt down into the hole, and then I put the 3 washers underneath and then the nut underneath. And the reason why you need the 3 washers is because there's not enough threads, or I should say that the bolt's a little bit too long to be able to just bolt right up against it with maybe 1 or 2. So you need that 3rd one in there so that you can get as many of the threads as you can from the nut up into the eye bolt here underneath. All in all, I like how that looks. It turned out very nice, and I'm very happy with that. Alright, the bottom side of the wing has all of the rivets in place all throughout the entire bottom skin, including the forward skin. Next, I'm going to remove the rear skin on the top. Just flip the wing over, and I'll have to get inside of there and put into place all of the components for controlling the aileron, and the aileron weights over here will have to be drilled out to balance them properly, and then deburr the skin and put it all back together. So one departure I'm going to make from the instructions is that on this tip rib here it tells me to use rivets to hold it on. I actually want to have access to that after the airplane is built, so I can get in there for annuals, and I'm going to have a light on the end of this that I want to be able to have access to the back side of. And to make that easier to be able to take this apart, I'm going to go ahead and use screws and nut plates to hold this all together instead of rivets, so that it's temporarily fixed and I can take it off when I need to. Alright, here's the end rib. I've already got the holes drilled up to the right size, and I've added in a bunch of nut plates here with screws. This is the harder side here because I had to put the screw through the back side and then put the rib nut here on the front, so I knew where to drill the holes for the rivets, and then pull those rivets through. So I've done all of these along this bottom seam here, and now it's off to do these ones that'll go across what's the top of the wing. I've done a couple of them already, and it's much simpler to do it from this side. Alright, here's the parts that you need. You got a rib nut that's going to go on the back, a screw that's going to hold it in the front, and a couple of small 3/32 rivets that are going to hold it into place against this. And I'll demonstrate that here. Basically, I just have the screw holding the rib nut in place loosely, and then I'm going to go in and drill through here now that I have a template and know where this is centered. And then I'll put in a cleco to hold the one side, drill the other side, and then tighten in the screw, and then we'll go in and deburr / countersink on the other side so that the rivets can be countersunk into it and have a flush top here, and then pull the rivets, and that'll be it. Tighten this in a little bit so I have 2 points of contact. Alright, there we go. That's what it looks like from the back side. So it looks from the outside. So the skin will go over the top of this. You won't be able to see this, and the screw will go through both and kind of pinch the skin down on top of this end rib here. So I've got this wire that goes from here down to here. It's just some safety wire. And what that does is it allows this aileron to move up and down freely. And what we're trying to do is balance this as best we can. The other aileron, I noticed that it was a little bit tail heavy, more so than the instructions allow. The instructions tell you to drill into the lead bar that's here. With the other one, for some reason, it's a little bit more tail heavy than this one is. And so if I drill into this on that, it'll actually make it even more tail heavy. And that's not what we want to do. But what I'm going to go ahead and do is drill into this piece of lead and just make them equal. And so what I've done is I've measured on the other aileron how far down it comes from this box up above to the bottom of the aileron, and you can see that this one is floating about, I don't know, an inch or so higher than the other one was. So what I need to do is drill into this lead bar to be able to let it settle down to the point where it's equal to the other one. The important thing to do here is to make sure that they're both symmetric. The weight here is nice. It'll keep it so that it keeps a little bit of weight on it, so there's a little bit of momentum required to move it. Keeps it from flopping around a lot. But more importantly, having them both be the same weight, which is the most important part, it helps it to fly straighter. So if one of these is heavier and kind of tends to tip up like this because the lead bar is heavier, it's going to lift or drop that wing slightly and raise the other wing, or vice versa. If this one happens to be sitting farther down, it's going to lift this wing and drop the other one. Alright, I finally got off enough material from that lead to make this level with the other aileron. I'm happy with that. Here's what it looks like. I've gone ahead and beveled the edge here around this just so I don't cut myself on it when I'm in there messing around with it later. Only one of the holes went through. You can probably see that here. The other one I didn't go all the way down into, so I had to clean out the lead scrapings that were down inside of it. Alright, here I am underneath the wing. I've noticed that this bolt is a little bit too long. It asks for an AN 3-10, but it's a little bit too long. I actually had to put on 2 washers here to be able to get the right grip on here. For now, just to hold parts together, you can see it moves, it does what it's supposed to, but I'm going to go ahead and order a shorter one to put into place here. I'll go AN 3-9, see if that fits or if I can even find one. Alright, so I typically order all of my fasteners from Aircraft Spruce. They actually have an AN bolt selector, which is nice. You can do a search for whatever size you need. In this case, I'm going to go to AN 3, which is what I'm looking for, and I'm looking for a 9, but you'll notice here that they actually only have a 7 or a 10, and the 10 is what the kit actually supplied, and like I said, it's a little bit too long. For my kit, I'm just going to go ahead and add that extra washer. It just, you know, will actually put the nut in the right spot. As it is, I think that this is going to be fine, so that's what I'm going to use. So another thing you got to verify is that you have enough threads through the adapter here. There's a little witness hole that we drilled earlier on, and you can actually just take a really small drill bit and stick it inside of that hole. And as long as that doesn't go all the way in, it just stops like right where the threads would be. You know that you've got enough threads to hold this in place. One quick change. Originally I had my wires for the wingtip lights coming through this hole right here, all the way through. Because the wing actually sticks out a little bit farther behind this spar here, I decided that that's where I want to put my wingtip light so that it's as far out as possible. And so I went ahead and moved the wires here, instead of from this little access hole here. I moved it up to the front one here, or to the rear one here, and the rear rib. And that also is guaranteed to work because on this end, there's definitely an access hole going into the cockpit where the aileron control rod here goes. So when the time comes, I'll figure a way to kind of get this up out of the way so it doesn't interfere with the aileron at all. So that should be good. Alright, my next chore is to install these lights that I got. These are wing end lights. The cool thing about these lights is that with the 2 on the end, it has all of the lights inside necessary for an aircraft. So if you look at the documentation here, kind of gives a good picture of how this works. You've got your 2 on either side So on, let's say for the right side, because that's the wing I'm working on, the light has 3 different lights inside of it. It has the nav lights that are green, so you can see that from the front of the aircraft. It has the position lights behind, which is the white light pointing out to the back, and then it also has a strobe light that can be seen from 180 degrees around. And with the 2 wing end lights, that gives me all of the lighting I need for my airplane. The ones that I purchased here are the Aveo PowerBurst NG daylight light sets, green, red, white. They have 3 different types you can get. There's one that has a black base, which is the one that I purchased, which means that this bottom part here is black, sort of around here. There's also a white and then a red and green base. If you look closely, you can see that one has a red base, one has a green base. This one's white and this one's black. I went with the black just because I'm planning on painting this a dark color, and I thought that none of the other colors would look right on it, so that's what I went with. I also purchased these Deutsch connectors here on the end. They're waterproof and fireproof, and really solid connectors. They get really good reviews, so that's what I decided to go with to connect these. Let me give you a quick demonstration of how this the light works. I've got a little adapter here that I've plugged into the wall and connected on also one of these Deutsch connectors here on the end. Alright, let's do this. It's super bright, so hopefully it doesn't mess up my camera. Alright, so there's the green light in the front, white light in the back, and then you can see the strobe light flashing as well. So you can see the strobe light from any direction, front and back, green light as well. Now because the wing end hangs on the wing at a 45-degree angle about like this, having the light sitting on the side like that wouldn't work as well. I don't know if you can see this in the camera or not. So I've actually made a little offset device here. It's 3D printed, 3D modeled and printed, and basically the Deutsch connector goes right through the hole there, and then that will tilt the light 45 degrees up against the wing end here, and then that will go on the wing just like that. So let me try and show you how I put this template here. You'll notice that this is a little more oblong than the light here is, and that's because when you've added a 45-degree angle here, it widens it out. If you look at the flat end of this, it's much more oblong than if you look at it this way. And so how I decided where to put this is I took my adjustable square here, I set it at 6 inches, and then I used these holes going down the side here to line up just along the side here. I put that there, and one across the bottom of this screw hole here as well, and then bumped that to 6 inches back here, and that's where the back side of this is going to go, is at 6 inches. And then I just kind of slid this whole thing up until it just touches there, and that makes it perpendicular to this 90-degree line, because it is still flat here as it bumps up against this. Anyway, that's how I did it. Mostly just saying this so that I know how to do the second one when it comes time to do the left wing. I'll refer back to this video myself just to remember how I did it, and I'll do that again. So I'm still not 100% sure what I'm going to do on the back side of where these holes are. Obviously the screws are going to be coming in at a 45-degree angle, so I need to do some kind of a slanted standoff of some kind back here on the other side. It might just be another 3D printed part that goes on the back and, you know, levels that out where the bolts are so that they can tighten up square. Again, I just haven't decided what to do with that yet, but I'm not in a rush anyway. This is the beauty of having these nut plates along here, is that I can put this wing end on and take it off as many times as I need to fit it and, until I'm happy with how it is. Okay, so next we're going to start working on wiring things up. I've already placed wires coming out of either end of the wing here, and you'll notice there's 4 wires. There's a black and red wire, a yellow wire, and a blue wire. The red and black wires, if I remember right, are the positive and ground for the colored light, the navigation lights. The yellow light, if I remember right, is for the strobe. And then the blue light is a syncing wire so that I can connect the blue between both of the lights, and the strobes will flash at the same time on both sides. If I don't have that on there, they kind of get out of sync, and they'll kind of randomly flash, maybe in sync and maybe out of sync. So what I'm going to do is put another one of these male ends onto what we were just looking at over there. So basically this is what I'm looking at. We've got the light here, and then we've got a female socket. That's going to be plugged into the lights on the wing end to the cable that I put in there. That's going to run all the way through there, and then I'll have a male end on the end of that, and then this is the part that's going to wire into the rest of the airplane here. So I'm going to go ahead and put on this end and this end. I'll start with this one over here. I probably won't bother showing you how to do this because it's going to be the same process. They're just 2 different ends. The only difference is if you look really closely, I'm not sure you're going to be able to see it on this, but it actually does say the numbers of the pins. So we've got pin 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. And if you look at this side over here, 1 and 2 is on the right, and then 3 and 4 is on the left over here. While they're on the left here, when I flip it upside down, 3 and 4 are going to be on the right, and that lines up with the 3 and 4 over here. Alright, first thing I'm going to do is trim these off so that they're in a straight line. I'm not sure how far in this will go, but I want to strip off what looks like probably, I don't know, a centimeter, something like that. Looks like I need to cut off just a little bit more. I got a specific crimp tool just for these types of ends, so I'm just going to go ahead and drop this down inside of there and put the wire inside of the end and then crimp it down. Alright, ends are on. The cool thing about the crimper is, I don't know if you can see this or not in the camera, but try to get this to focus here. Inside of it there's actually 4 little teeth that grab from 4 different directions and put kind of a, instead of just going flat, it kind of does it in a star pattern and squeezes it down so it gets good contacts all the way around. Alright, next I'm going to put each of those wires into a slot in this little rubber gasket here. That's what makes it waterproof. Incidentally, if you only have 3 wires going through these plugs, the kit actually comes with a plug that you can put in place of a wire there to make sure it stays waterproof. But since that's not what we're doing, we're going to use all 4 wires on this one, so that's what I'm going to do. Number 4 here. Push it in until it clicks. The blue goes on the bottom there. Clicks. Yellow on the bottom. And black up here on the top. I can just slide this gasket into place here. See, the cables came all the way, they're flush now. And then the last thing to do is to just put in this little cap that goes in there and locks all these pins into place from the front. There we go. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of light on this side of the garage, but I did essentially the same thing on this other connector here. Same thing, I put on, instead of the female pins, I put on the male pins, and then crimped them on, put them through the rubber gasket here in the back, put them into the receptacle here, pushed the rubber stopper up into the back, and they were all clicked into place here. You're probably not going to be able to see this because of the light in here, but down inside of here I put in a little green locking mechanism. I'll show you a picture of it in the instructions to show you what it looks like, but basically it just slides down and clicks into there to hold all the pins in place and kind of locks them from coming out. I have my the test one that I set up that I can plug into a power outlet, that I can plug into this. Yep, and it's a nice solid, I can feel the rubber stopper, like the gasket really is tight in there. You can tell that it's very waterproof, very good set of connectors here. Alright, so if everything worked out right, plugging this in should actually light up the light on the other side. You can see that it is flashing. See green and white lights on, and then the strobe as well. So it looks like it's all set up properly. Whew, that's bright. Alright, so here's what the instructions show. There's several parts in here. You've got the plug, you've got the wedge lock for the plug, you have the receptacle, and then you have the wedge lock for the receptacle. And so basically it gives you instructions here. You clamp on the ends here with the protrusions, or with a sealing plug. Again, it's just a blank that doesn't have a wire plugged into it, but it does shove into the back of the gasket here. And if I can find them in here, I can show you what they look like. There we go. Just these little white plugs that will go into the gasket. So you can choose either a wire or one of those plugs to go into the back of that. So you plug those into the back of the receptacle, and once it goes in and clicks into the right spot, then this green wedge here will go into between the pins on this side and click into place, and that locks everything into place so you can't pull those pins back out. There's a tool here that can somehow pull them out. I haven't had to pull one out yet, so I haven't got any practice and don't really feel like pulling it out for any reason if everything's working. So if it comes down to it, I'll use that. But it seems like everything's working as it is right now. There's also, it came with these little mounts here, so you can technically drill a hole, and the receptacle here has this little kind of sliding wedge here on the top, and that'll actually click into this this mount here, so you can actually make a mount. And I may actually do this out on the wingtip there, just kind of drill a hole into it to put a screw into it, and then have this just kind of always there ready to go, and then go from the light and plug into that where this is held steady and not moving around. Alright, everything's assembled and ready to go together here. I did go ahead and do a leveling, and it still checks out as being level from one end to the other, so it's ready to start getting riveted. quite a bit of work, as you could tell by watching this video. I probably have, I don't know how many hours into building this wing, probably like 100 or more. Anyway, I guess the next thing on the list is to complete the left wing, and that probably won't even get started here for about another month. I have a work trip down to San Antonio for about 3 weeks coming up, so it's going to be hot and steamy and not very much fun, but looking forward to coming back and working on more of the airplane. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so, and we'll see you on the next one. See ya.